Welcome to Art Ed Radio, the podcast for art teachers. This show is produced by the Art of Education, and I'm your host, Tim Bogatz. Welcome to the show. I am thrilled today to welcome on Sarah Krajewski as a returning guest. Sarah is somebody you probably know from all of her work at the Art of Ed. I've worked with her forever. You probably know her as Art Room Glitter Fairy online, but she is somebody who brings a ton of energy and a ton of creativity and a ton of wisdom every time that I talk to her. So I always love having her on the show. And I wanted to bring her on to talk about her own personal art making and just sort of the mindset that goes into consistently creating art, consistently showing up for your creative practice. And I wanted to have her on because I think she is just so good at that. She has always been someone I admire for how consistently she shows up for her own creations, how consistently she makes art. And so I know that there are some strategies that go into that. There are some things that we need to do to make that time for ourselves. And so I want to ask her about the challenges that kind of get in the way, and not just time, but energy and creative lapses and things like that that really make it difficult for us to create on a regular basis. And so I'm hoping she can share some strategies for building creative habits, for finding time to make art, even when your life and your schedule are very full and when your creativity and your energy are maybe a little bit empty. So if you're in that summer mode right now and thinking, I'd like to create, but I don't know where to start. I'd like to create, but I don't have the energy. Okay, I'm ready to make art, but I don't know where to dive in. I'm hoping that Sarah has some advice for you. But like I said, she's always full of great advice, and I'm really looking forward to talking to her. It looks like she's ready to go, so let me bring her on now. Sarah Krajewski is joining me now. Sarah, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing excellent. I'm super psyched to be here with you, Tim.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It has been a long time. So, first of all, welcome back. And then, since it has been a while, can you give everybody sort of an introduction to who you are for any new listeners, and updates for any old listeners of just how you're doing, like what you're up to these days?
Yes. So, Sarah Krajewski, I actually, as you were doing that quick, hey, why don't you introduce yourself? I remembered a word from a TED Talk that I saw, which is multipotentialite, which is a person
Oh,
of like many potential of like lots of things that they like to do, lots of things that they like to have their, be busy with. And so I'm Sarah Krajewski and I'm a multipotentialite. But so I am an art educator. I taught at the elementary level for the last 14 years. I currently teach at the Art Hub, which is my local art gallery, kids art space, do ceramic wheel throwing and adult classes there. I am a woman of 6 jobs currently, so I have many things that I do. Just got certified to teach yoga, do art commission classes, write lessons. I work part-time for the Art of Education. So a lot of things that I stay busy with. I used to say I'm not good at being slow, but now I'm better at being slow, but I
okay.
don't like it as much.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Now, I feel like you just need to introduce yourself now as a multi-potentialite and Renaissance woman, just doing so many different things, and a great description. So, no, but I wanted to have you on to talk about, just making time to make art, because I've always admired how you make it a priority to create art for yourself. I've always admired how you're almost always working on your own art. And so I guess I want to ask you, like, why is that so important to you, the act of creating, and what are the benefits that you see? What are the benefits for you when it comes to consistently creating art?
Yeah, yeah. That's a really great question. I mean, it feels obvious, us art educators, people that are in this creative field, we feel better when we're doing something, when we're making something, when our ideas have a place to go. It's a way of moving through our thoughts, through mental health, good, bad, negative, neutral. It doesn't really matter, but the process of making something is inherently therapeutic. And I feel like I use it in the same way. You know, a year ago was definitely had a more increased bout of anxiety. And I felt like it was really difficult for me to create, even though I knew it made me feel better. And I remember there was a friend of mine whose kiddo was having a birthday party, asked me to make literally a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that said like, so and so is 3 years old, right? And draw a
Yeah.
horse on it. And that felt like climbing a mountain. I was like,
Oh,
I can't, right? And once I took the time and just pushed through it, did it scared, did it anxious, whatever, I realized, okay, well, wow, this makes me feel better. It gives me that little endorphin rush. It really reminds me of what's important to me and the fact that my talent or the things that I'm good at are part of my value set, right? So I think a big thing is just truly making the time for that because it does help with my mental health certainly and with my artistic voice. It definitely makes me feel just proud of myself, feel connected to the art world, feel like I have something to share with my voice when I'm creating. So that's why I continue to as much as I can, even though it never quite feels like enough. That is the barrier we're trying to, pull away a little bit is that there's no expectation of how it has to be just to do it.
right, right. Well, and I think those are all very valuable feelings, and I think those are things we maybe don't feel enough of as teachers. Like those are emotions that can really be helpful for us in a lot of ways. But I want to go back to something you said just about, you're making time to do that. And I think for a lot of teachers, that is the difficult part. Like finding time, making time to create. So, what do you think are the biggest obstacles for teachers when it
Mhm.
comes to finding time to make art or finding time to create? And how do we get past those obstacles? Do you have strategies? Do you have ideas that can help teachers, find the time or make the time to create?
Yeah, when I hear you talk about time, I think that something that always is walking hand in hand with time is energy, right? I may have the time, but do I have the energy to actually create something? Especially when it comes to teaching. I mean, I know the feeling of it being even the entire month of June taking that long or more to feel like you can decompress your nervous system from the school year.
Yes.
So it's difficult to sit and think, well, okay, well, I have the time, but I don't have the energy or the right motivation to make myself want to create something. So I mean, it feels simple, maybe, but I think reminding yourself that it can just be manageable and little and small and easy, literally like a minute, right? I have a weekly calendar that I use to plan out my week. And I continued that into summer. And each week there's a little like a bullet journal area. And I'll just draw what I call a joy sketch. So something that takes me probably 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds to draw something from the week that I remember so that when I pan through my previous weeks in my notebook of like what I've done, what's my to-do list, I can see, oh, you went to go get ice cream with your nieces and nephews, right? Or you went and you made this fun meal or whatever it might be. So trying to find like these little moments that I can then document instead of in a written form, just in like a really quick doodle or a really quick sketch. So, I mean, taking down that barrier of like, I have to be working on this big project or something where I'm making a huge painting or I'm doing, something that has a big finished result that's going to go somewhere, in my home or be sold or whatever it might be. Taking that away and just doing like these really quick, super, quick and dirty, nasty little sketches of just
Yeah.
like, it's 30 seconds. It's nothing fancy, but it's a way for me to move my drawing utensil in a different way and move through the way that I feel or what I'm thinking about. So those little joy sketches can be helpful too. So just keep in mind the time is going to feel like a barrier and then being compassionate to yourself about the energy as well. So if you don't have the energy, I should say, to create a sketch, maybe your creative endeavor for the day is like sitting and observing something. that's creative, right? Sitting and like looking at the rustling of the trees, and then maybe you'll be thinking, well, okay, that would be cool for me to sketch, or what does that make me feel like, or what are a couple words that come to mind there, and I can write like a little haiku in my brain or something, right? It doesn't have to be a full, complete piece. So yeah, just small, little, tiny, small.
Yeah, no, and that's something that has helped me before too, is just going on a walk with no expectation, just being out in nature and just getting inspired and just observing and just taking it all in. And that can serve as a great inspiration later on, or even if you still don't have, the energy or you don't have full inspiration to create. I think those types of activities can give you small steps toward that goal, just a
Exactly.
little bit of a refresh, and then brick by brick, you're building that back up. And I really think that those are worthwhile things. So I wanted to ask you though, for people who maybe do have the energy, who, want to go beyond just the joy sketches or little daily doodles and make art a little more consistently. Do you have tips or tricks for that, for helping people get into a routine or starting a habit of creating consistently, like beyond the bullet journals, the quick sketches? What types of things have helped you make that time to make art?
Yeah. I got to imagine there is a habit technique of making it visible. So without it feeling like cluttered and messy necessarily, just seeing the projects that you're working on, maybe picking one or two that are within your eye line can be helpful so that instead of maybe reaching for, I don't know, your pocket computer, right? Like you can reach for couchcraft, right? So I always say, at the end of the night or when I feel like I don't have a lot of mental capacity to be working on to-do lists or, you're kind of like
Yeah.
the wind down part of your
Yeah.
day, hopefully. Usually grabbing something creative is helpful because I don't take a lot of, it doesn't take a lot for me to think of what to do, especially if the sketch is already started and I'm just painting or just stitching or, doing a sketch or something that's already kind of in the works. But it's that like more calm flow state. So it's not as
Yeah.
much that creative part where I need to be thinking about new ideas, but I can just make, right? So I think having something that is easy to grab, especially not an electronic device, although I will say I've been sketching on my iPad a lot more recently too. And there,
Okay.
that is obviously a electronic device, but I kind of limit the like apps and things that I have on my iPad. So my iPad is more like this is for drawing
It's an
explicitly.
art making tool and not everything.
Right. So just like trying to make it just like this is for drawing, this is all you're going to do, ideally, or, mostly. So that can be helpful too. But I would say, yeah, definitely to get into the habit would be having things visible and easy to grab. And then also, I love having accountability buddies, right? People that are going
Okay.
to keep,
Yeah.
yeah, keep you accountable. I'm lucky enough to be working on a joint show with one of my very good friends that'll be happening in September. And her and I have not done a show before. Y'all, I'm very familiar with art shows, right?
Right.
Thousands of children. But when was the last time that like I put up some art of
Yeah.
mine in a show?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about it. And we are working together so that we'll have the show together, which is really nice because it takes the pressure off of like needing to think of everything yourself and
Right.
holding yourself accountable. I realized that kind of in this different stage of a little bit more open autonomous part of my life that I am not great at like keep I that's something I need to practice. So having another person checking in to be seeing how I'm doing on certain projects or how's this art piece coming or whatever. So if you can find like another art buddy that you're like, "Hey, have you sketched
Yeah.
anything this last week?" or like look what I'm creating and just have this safe space to be able to share and communicate with each other. That's a really nice way to build a habit too, because then it's not just on you. You get to continue that community with someone else and makes it easier to check in and feel like you can get some things accomplished.
Yeah, that's really cool. I appreciate that idea. And I think if I can give a quick shout out for the Art of Ed online community, they have the art gallery there. People are always talking, showing what they're making. So if you're listening to this and thinking, I don't have an accountability buddy, like that would be a good spot to find one. So I just want to put a quick plug in there. But I also wanted to kind of shift gears and talk about what's happening at the Art Ed Now conference. We're like a month away now, which is pretty
Mhm.
exciting. You're doing a couple really cool things. Friday night, we have the kickoff games and the art making. You're going to be doing the art making with Jen Lieben doing the intuitive line paintings. And then you also have an afterpass presentation about drawing characters and emotions. And it's super fun. Like, I really appreciate the presentation you put together. Plus, your cat makes an appearance. So that made me very happy. But between the two of those, like, what are you excited about there? Like, what should people be excited about when they're creating art with you, like along with you, either live on Friday night or later on using your video from the Afterpass? Like, what is there to be excited about with those?
Yeah, well, so if you haven't been to anything for the Art Ed now, obviously the conference itself is just so fun. It's filled with energy, people that love to make, people that want to learn. So just the energy alone is amazing. And I mean, the party at the beginning of the conference is kind of where it's at. Like that's the dare I say, one of the best parts. And so I really enjoy being part of that evening because it's fun to see the games and the fun things that you and Amanda put together, and see everyone getting excited about learning and creating and being together. So I'm really excited to be part of that. And Jen and I always just have a fun time together, just
Always. Yes.
creating. Yeah. And those live art making times are super casual, really fun. You can use whatever materials you want. We go into, detail about things, but for the most part, it's really also just a time to be together and check in on each other and, just sort of hang out in a fun way. So I really enjoy that particular time of the conference. And then, yeah, the afterpass presentation was fun to do. It was really fun to draw, and I got into some character drawing, some different things with emotions, and it was a really fun project. And yes, Fuzz Aldrin is his full official name. Fuzz makes an appearance, and he can't help himself. So if you want to see a giant orange cat, you could watch. So yeah, those two things have been fun. And just to piggyback off of what you said earlier about the Art of Ed community, I'm also doing another art club meet with Jen
Oh, yeah.
Lieben coming up as well. So being part of that Art of Ed community is really wonderful because it helps connect you, especially in the summer when maybe you have a little more time/energy. Remember those two buddies hand in hand when you might have one of those two things to just connect with people or make or join a Zoom or give yourself an excuse to grab a sketchbook and just like sit outside on your patio and make something. So really good place to check that out.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for all the kind words about the conference, and I'm so excited to have you back at this, and we're gonna have a blast. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a great time. So
Yeah.
before I let you go, I have two questions left because I would just want to give everybody who's listening to this a little bit of an inspiration or maybe a little bit of direction on where they can go to get inspired to kind of create art. So I would love to know any recommendations or just, stories from you about where you find inspiration. Like, are there any particular tools or places you go, spaces you hang out, or groups that you hang out with that help you feel inspired or help you make art? Like, what are the things that make you want?
Yes, that also is an amazing question. I think, as you were asking that, there are many places that come to mind. The first few are, of course, a place like this, right? The Art of Ed community, those places that are kind of built and set up the structures to have you be successful. That stuff is always going to be a really great fallback to know, like, okay, I have something that if I don't have the brain capacity to figure out what I want to make or how I'm going to organize or connect to people, I have a place to go. So certain places like that, Patreon groups. I
Mhm.
do have a couple like sketch groups that I'll occasionally try to drop into, or even just like we call them like coexisting craft nights with like have a friend over. We don't have to talk. We can, but we don't have to. Like just bring something you're working on, bring an iPad, bring something you're sketching, like bring some coloring. It doesn't matter, but do something creative for yourself around each other.
Yeah.
And that is a really nice way to feel like you're still part of a community. You're still making, but you don't have to do any type of performance, put on any type of show, or have any type of extra energy that you wouldn't necessarily have the energy for, right? So,
Right.
so that is a really helpful space. And then the things that recently have been making me want to make, especially with it being summer. I've been trying to just capture some imagery from outside. I volunteer at our huge local botanical garden here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so beautiful. Today, I went this morning and volunteered for 3 hours. We just weed and plant things, and it's wonderful. And I'm very lucky to be part of that crew. And it's like I just snapped a couple pictures of the poppies, and like I wouldn't say I'm much of a like a realistic, like I appreciate drawing realistic, but I like
Yeah.
just like funky colors and bright and a
Hmm.
little bit more abstract. And so I usually will try to snag a few images and go back through my camera roll and just find things that might help me with an idea of a joy sketch or something that can be used for inspiration. So those things, just my own personal experience of what's happening around me, always a great place to start. It helps you kind of solidify those memories and give you a visual journal of what your life is, and that's a really powerful place to use art to help you remember.
No, I love that. And I hope that gets wheels turning for people who are listening and just kind of, what are the places around me? What are the opportunities here? And then my last question for you, and we maybe have covered this a little bit already, but I would love to just hear your best advice for our teachers who are listening to this and they're still saying or still thinking like, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy to create. Like, what is your advice for them?
Yeah, we did discuss this just a little bit, and I think the important thing to think about is maybe even just reframing your concept of creating. Does creating literally mean holding a drawing tool in your hand and making a sketch? Maybe, but maybe some days it means like thinking, right? It could be observing and then making a list in your head of ideas you might want to do at some point. Maybe it's creating, envisioning, like sometimes I'll look out at my back garden and I'll just think like, okay, this could go here, maybe this could go here. That's creating. It's just creating in my brain, and I don't have the energy or the physical will to do a whole painting.
Or to like make it official. Like sometimes you
Totally.
can just think about things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say maybe just like reframe your expectation of what creating actually might be, and be, as always, understanding and kind to yourself, knowing that like some days you're just not going to have it, right? And trust that it will come back, right? So I many times will, I think it's pretty human to beat yourself up for the days that you can't be productive or you aren't doing the things you think you're supposed to be doing, right? All the things that we palmed ourselves in the head about, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is that this is the ebb and flow of the human experience. Not to get all deep with it, but truly, like it's gonna fluctuate. So some days you wake up and you're like, man, I just planted a whole thing and I have all this energy. And then the next 3 days you need to recover from that. And that's just how it goes. So trusting yourself to know that like what your body is telling you is probably the story that you need to listen to. So being flexible about what creating looks like so that you can follow the ebb and flow of your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just said kind of reframing things, giving yourself some grace, giving yourself some understanding about, yeah, some days it's going to be wonderful and you can take advantage of that, but you don't have to. And
Mhm.
other days, maybe not so much, but that's okay too. And so I think that is some wonderful advice for people. So appreciate it. Sarah, thank you for sharing all of your experiences, all of your wisdom here. It was a really, really enjoyable conversation, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you to Sarah for coming on. I love that conversation, and honestly, I could have talked to her for a lot longer. But I love how she was able to kind of reframe the whole conversation around creativity and just kind of give us that reminder that making art doesn't always have to look like sitting down with a blank canvas and producing your finished work. Okay, there's so many ways to do that. We always go back to that small c creativity and appreciating these smaller acts of creativity that we do every day. And she really honed in on that. The quick sketch in your planner, or a walk through your neighborhood, or just a few photos of something that was aesthetically pleasing. All of those things count. And honestly, the joy sketch concept alone, that is worthwhile. That was worth listening to hear about that, and that's something that can be incorporated so easily. And so, if those ideas and those messages are working for you, I would encourage you to check out some of the resources that we've linked in the show notes. AOE has some fantastic articles on building creative habits and making time to make art as an art teacher. And I think those ideas are genuinely useful. You can find them, like I said, in the show notes, or just look up those topics at theartofelducation.edu. Okay, also, if you're looking for an accountability buddy or just a community of people who appreciate, what we're going through as art teachers and as creators, the Art of Ed online community is a wonderful place to connect, a great place to share what you're making, and just find some encouragement from other art educators. Then lastly, before we go, do not forget Art Ed Now is just around the corner, about a month away now, the end of July. So Sarah will be there live on Friday night at the kickoff, doing some intuitive line painting with Jen Lieben. And she also has the AfterPass session on drawing characters and emotions, with the cameo from Fuzz Aldrin. Okay, so make sure you check that out. If you are not registered yet for the conference, you can head to theartofelducation.edu/now to register or just learn more about all of the amazing things that we're going to have happening at the conference. And I'm hoping that we will see you there. And in the meantime, I'm hoping that you are finding time to create for yourself. We are so glad you joined us for today's episode, and we hope it was helpful for you. If you know someone else who might be helped with the information in this show, we would love for you to share it with them. We also appreciate all the ratings and reviews that listeners leave for us, so if you have a few seconds to give us a 5-star rating or even leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen, we would love to see it. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you next week.